Are you torn between moving to Norfolk or to Richmond and wondering which of those cities is the best fit for you? Well, today we're going to be looking at both of them side by side. Make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to be sharing a secret fact about both Richmond and Norfolk that you don't want to miss. I'm Greg Somerville, a real estate expert here in Richmond, Virginia. If you need help making a move, text me or give me a call. Well, now let's jump into today's video. Well, let's start with some general facts. Norfolk has 235,000 residents. It has the world's largest naval base. The North American headquarters for NATO is here. It's got a vibrant harbor. The USS Battleship Wisconsin is here. And USA Today says that Norfolk has one of the top 10 booming downtowns in the US. Richmond is the same size. It's got 230,000 residents and so much history. Patrick Henry gave his famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech right here in Richmond. This was the capital of the Confederacy. There are lots of Civil War battlefield sites around. 8 of the Fortune 500 companies have their headquarters here in Richmond. And CNN just named Richmond the #1 place to visit in the US. The cost of living in these two cities is similar. Some things are a little higher in Norfolk, some a little higher in Richmond. We'll look at housing costs first. Median sale price for a home in Norfolk, $364,000, whereas in Richmond, $411,000. The average rent for an apartment in Norfolk, $1,404, whereas in Richmond, it's $1,483. You'll pay a little less for gas in Norfolk than in Richmond. $3.24 right now in Norfolk, $3.36 in Richmond. But you'll pay more for electricity. $170 a month is your average electric bill in Norfolk right now, $164 a month in Richmond. And then public transportation, very reasonable in Norfolk, $2 a fare, but in Richmond, you can ride the bus for free. When it comes to lifestyle and culture, both of these cities have a lot to offer. Norfolk offers a vibrant art scene where neon is Norfolk's first arts district. You'll find the Chrysler Museum of Arts with 30,000 art objects, including the world-famous Tiffany glass collection. There's the Scope Arena, where you can watch ice hockey and concerts. Lots of festivals, the Greek Festival, Harbor Fest, Virginia Children's Festival. Then there's the Nauticus Maritime Discovery Center that tells the story of maritime environment, industry, and military. That's where the USS Battleship Wisconsin is parked. Then you can look at the Norfolk Botanical Gardens, 175 acres. With its waterfront location, you can imagine that Norfolk has lots of great outdoor activities. Waterside District is Norfolk's premier waterfront experience with lots of dining and entertainment. You'll find Town Point Park there. The historic Freemason District is a great dining area with lots of water views. The Elizabeth River Trail, 10.5 miles of urban trail along the waterfront. And then you've got 144 miles of beaches in the area to explore. Beaches may not be as popular as Virginia Beach, but they're also not nearly as crowded. You'll find the same amazing array of options in Richmond. It has over 150 street murals. It has the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts and VCU's Art School, highly regarded nationwide. Richmond has great festivals. Maybe the best known is the Richmond Folk Festival every November. But it's also got Dominion River Rock and Arts in the Park and outdoor concerts on Browns Island. Scott's Addition is a unique place for nightlife here in the city. Lots of breweries located there. And then for history buffs, Civil War battlefields, the Civil War Museum, the Slave Trail here in the city. The Shockoe Project, which is in place, is preparing to put a museum here in Shockoe Bottom honoring the history of enslaved peoples. Essence Magazine names Richmond one of its top 10 best destinations for culinary travel. You'll find the Metro Richmond Zoo here. Now, Lewis Ginter Botanical Gardens, maybe the #1 tourist location in Richmond. It has a ton of outdoor activities as well. With the James River going right through the heart of the city, it's no surprise that Richmond has been named the best river town in America. The James River Park System offers beautiful locations like Belle Isle, the Buttermilk Trail, and Pony Pasture. And then there's the Capitol Trail, a 52-mile bike path going from Richmond all the way to Jamestown. You'll find similar job opportunities in both cities with one main distinction. In Norfolk, the major employer is the military. You've also got shipping, logistics, healthcare, and education as big industries. Primary employers are Naval Station Norfolk and Huntington Ingalls Industries. And the unemployment rate is just 2.6%. In Richmond, key industries are financial services, life sciences, healthcare, and military and government contracting. Main employers are Altria, Capital One, and Virginia Commonwealth University. Here, the unemployment rate is 2.8%. Education is often a real priority as people are looking for their next home. And in this category, Richmond definitely has the advantage. I looked at the MAP scores for public high schools in 22 and 23 as one objective way to compare. And here's what I found. The Virginia average that year was a 69. For Norfolk area high schools, public schools, the average was a 65. Whereas for Richmond public high schools, the average was 10 points higher, a 75. Both cities offer a number of private schools, with Norfolk having Norfolk Academy, Norfolk Christian, Norfolk Collegiate. In Richmond, you're going to find Collegiate School, St. Christopher's School, St. Catherine's, just to name a few. Norfolk offers Old Dominion University and Norfolk State, whereas in Richmond, you're going to find VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, and the University of Richmond. When it comes to sports, these two cities are neck and neck. Neither has a professional football team or a basketball team, but both offer great alternatives. In Norfolk, you're going to find Tides Baseball, the AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. You'll also find the Norfolk Admirals, hockey team affiliated with the Winnipeg Jets. And then there's Old Dominion University, a D1 school that has great programs. Richmond loves its Flying Squirrels, the AA baseball affiliate of the San Francisco Giants. It's also got NASCAR, huge races several times a year. And then there's VCU and the University of Richmond, both colleges with exciting sports programs. Depending on where you are on the political spectrum, you may find these differences between Norfolk and Richmond to be very significant. Norfolk is moderate to conservative, with the military presence having a strong influence on politics. In the 2020 presidential election, Trump defeated Biden by margins of 6 to 46% in all but one of the surrounding 6 counties. You'll find a mix of liberal and conservative views in Richmond, with big differences between what happens in the city and what happens in the surrounding counties. In the 2020 presidential elections, Biden defeated Trump in the city and in the 2 adjacent counties. He had 68% more of the vote in Richmond City, just 6% more of the vote in Chesterfield County. Meanwhile, in Goochland and Hanover and New Kent counties, Trump defeated Biden by large margins. Transportation may not be the first thing you think about as you're comparing cities, but it has a huge effect on everyday life. Public transportation in Norfolk is handled by the Hampton Roads Transit. It's got an extensive bus system as well as the Tide Light Rail, a 7.4-mile section of track with access to the Harbor Park, where the Norfolk Tides play, and downtown Norfolk. The fare is the same on the light rail as it is on the bus. You'll also find the Norfolk International Airport conveniently located in Norfolk Amtrak, and within the city there are 36 miles of bike lanes. Traffic is a real issue in Norfolk. Because of how water divides up the region, there are major choke points, especially at bridges and tunnels. The Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is notorious for this, and studies have found that commuters in Norfolk spend an average of 45 hours a year stuck in traffic. Once upon a time, Richmond's public transportation was handled by electric streetcars, but those were phased out in 1949. The GRTC offers an extensive bus network throughout the city, including the Pulse, an express 7.5-mile rapid transit route. The fares are free on the GRTC since COVID. The Richmond International Airport is conveniently located, and Richmond has been named one of the 7 top bike-friendly towns in Virginia. Traffic is not nearly as bad here in Richmond thanks to its network of highways. Running north to south is Route 95. East to west is Route 64. On the western side of the city, a beltway, you've got 288, and on the eastern side, you've got 295. All of those together make for quick commuting times and not much traffic. Most residents tell you it will take 15 to 20 minutes to get anywhere they need to go around the city. We've looked at a number of individual characteristics, so let's wrap up with some general pros and cons. There are a lot of pros to living in Norfolk, Virginia, especially if you love the water. The coastal location with its great beaches, its waterfront festivals, you're going to love that. You're going to love the culture, the nightlife, and if you have a naval or military background, you are going to feel right at home. There are cons to living in Norfolk as well. We've already talked about the traffic. There are going to be those choke points on the bridges and tunnels, just no getting around that. Be prepared to sit for a while. Jet noise can be an issue also. Military jets can be quite loud over certain parts of the city. And then there's a risk of hurricanes and flooding. We haven't talked about this yet, but flooding is a real issue in Norfolk, especially the north and west parts of the city. And it seems to have gotten worse over time. Norfolk would actually be one of the most vulnerable U.S. cities when it comes to the threat of sea level rise associated with global warming. As someone who lives in and loves Richmond, forgive me for being just a little bit biased here, but it is very easy to talk about the pros of living in Richmond. With all of its parks and trails, and especially the James River going right through the heart of the city, Richmond offers an amazing place for outdoor enthusiasts. It's also got this thriving art scene and this foodie scene with great restaurants and breweries. Richmond is at the heart of the craft brewing revolution that took place, and I'm actually standing here today at the granddaddy of them all, Legend Brewing Company. It's also ideally situated 2 hours from the beach, 2 hours from the mountains, 2 hours from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Of course, not everything is perfect in Richmond. Housing affordability is an ongoing issue. It's not as bad as other parts of the country, but there are a lot of people here, especially first-time homeowners, who are just finding it hard to get into a house. And then there's this ugly history of racial oppression with deep roots and ongoing tensions, things that we'll continue to talk about for a long, long time. Well, I promised at the beginning I was going to share a secret fact, a fun fact about both of these cities. So you ready? Here goes. Norfolk was recently named one of the top 10 most romantic locations by datingadvice.com. And Richmond is the only U.S. city that can boast of having Class 4 rapids downtown. I was a Richmond native. I have to throw in one more thing about Richmond. Lego is building its first ever U.S. factory right here in Metro Richmond, adding 1,700 new jobs. If you're thinking about moving to either Norfolk or Richmond, and you just have some questions or need some advice, call me or text me. I'm here to help you find your perfect home in Virginia. Well, as always, thanks for your support. And if you want to check out other videos about life in Richmond, click right here. I'll see you in the next one.